If you're spending more than 30 seconds creating a video, you're doing it wrong. While everyone else is burning 2 hours in editing software or bleeding cash on video editors, I'm going to show you something that will change everything. One prompt to multiple professional videos, completely automated. And I'm about to show you exactly how to build the system in this video. So to make this happen, we're going to use a few different tools. And the first one is going to be this Kie.AI. And this allows you to access the best video, image, and music models in one API. Once you log in, you're able to create an API key over here. So I'll do that in a second. And if you look at the documentation, this is what gets shown. So you can generate VO3 AI video using fast and quality. So you can choose different models. What is interesting here is that there is also the, if I search for image, you have the image URL. So you can not only provide it with a prompt, but you can also give it the image URL that you want it to start with, which can be super, super handy. In terms of other parameters, you can choose the model. So there's VO3, but there's also the different models. If I search for a model, you have the VO3 fast and the VO3 quality. So the fast is more cost efficient, 20% of quality pricing. That still delivers strong visual results. There's text to video or image to video, where you can reference a single frame, so that's great. There's the 16:9 native, and there's also the ability to convert to 9:16. So if you're doing social videos, there's also the ability to go from the landscape mode into portrait mode, which can be super handy in some situations. So there's that. And there's the languages, the audio track, and also content governance. So yeah, those are the different parameters that you can look into. There's also the seeds, which is interesting. So if there's something that makes sense and you want to generate stuff similar to that, you can keep the same seed. And there's also this enable fallback, which allows you to, I believe they use a different engine if it fails, if I'm not mistaken. So if we search for enable fallback, this is intelligent fallback. If Google's strict content filters wrongly flag a normal prompt, you can now reroute the request to an alternative, more lenient VO3 channel. So it uses the same VO3 model, only the path changes, greatly reducing false positives and boosting success rate. So that's another thing that you might want to consider enabling. So we just set enable fallback to true. Cool. So that's pretty much in terms of the different stuff that you can set up right here on Kie.AI. What I'm going to do first is generate a simple video just to ensure that this is working as expected. So I'm going to go here, copy this. I'm going to go to my API page, create an API key, give it a test. So YouTube test, I'm going to hit create. So I'll also copy this so I can use this in N8N. So over here, I have a new N8N workflow. I'm going to start by triggering it manually. I'm going to add a set node, which will be the video prompt. So we'll set that up in a second right here. Or actually, let's put a man working in his office at midnight. And then I'm going to execute that. Let's call this the video generation YouTube. And next, we're just going to make that API HTTP call to Kie.AI. So I'm going to hit import curl. I'm going to paste in my curl request there. And I'm just going to paste in my API key right here. So I'll just paste that in right here. If I scroll down here, I should be able to see the prompts that we will put in here. So this I need to flip to expression. Instead of a dog playing in the park, let's go to the expression window right here. And I'm just going to drag in the video prompt in the prompt section right here. So I'll just drag and drop this. For the image right now, I'm not going to use this. So let's just leave this as empty. So we'll be able to use it after. I'm not sure if empty would work or if I just need to remove that. I can also add a watermark right here. So let's just put in Kevin as the watermark. For the model, let's use the fast model, which, let's see, VO3 fast, model VO3. Let's see, how do we do that? Model VO3 or VO3 underscore fast. So let's use that. And And I think that's pretty much it. Watermark, callback URL. So I tried this, but just wasn't working when I was trying this. So what we can do, let's try it out, is we can set a webhook right here so that when the request finishes, it would then trigger this webhook. So this would be video complete. I'm going to grab the production URL. Let's change this to allow multiple HTTP methods. So we get the get and post, and I'm going to copy the production URL. And right here, I'll just change the callback URL to this new webhook URL so that when the video finishes, it will send the information to that callback URL. Let's leave the 16.9, that's fine. Seeds, let's leave as is. Enable fallback, let's leave as is. I'm going to save this. I'm going to turn this on. Production checklist. Okay, I've never seen this. Quite a new thing. Set up error notifications, track time saved. Okay, nope. Interesting. Yeah, must be a new update from N8N. So that's pretty much it. So if we give this a proper name, Kie.AI create video, and this is set video prompt. I'm going to run this from when clicking execute workflow, and then we'll see whether we get some information here eventually. Or, I mean, I think we should get the information right here as well. So let's just try this here. So this executed. So here, if we go to the logs, you'll see that this is now running. And if I refresh, still running. So once that happens, we'll be able to, okay, awesome. We got success right here. We got the result URL. So if I were to copy this and paste it in here, I should get the video immediately. There's the watermark, which you can see in the bottom right corner right here, as you can see. But let's play this. Funny how that paper just disappeared, but yeah. That was just the video generated based on that very, very, very basic prompt. A man working in his office at midnight. So let's save this. Let's see if we got information to this webhook URL. So maybe that was fixed since the last time I tried it. And it might have been. Yeah. So we got some information sent right here. So if we look at the information, yep, we got the result URL great here. So that should be the same. Yep, video. Awesome. So that means we can also save that directly and we can run other things. We don't have to keep waiting for this to finish. So that is pretty good news. So what we now want to do is combine multiple videos together, right? We don't want to just create that 8-second video and that's pretty much it. We also want to potentially have the AI generate a better prompt. So let's actually start from that. So here we will set the video prompt, which will be the basic prompt that we would then pass along to the AI. But instead of passing that directly to Kie, let's use an OpenAI node right here, message a model, to boost up or to beef up this user prompt. So I'm going to add a new message. I'm going to drag and drop the video prompt there. And I'm going to change the system message in a second. I'll choose my model right here. And I'm going to say, you are an intelligent video assistant that takes in a user prompt and beefs it up so that it works better for an AI image or for an AI video generator. Focus on the scene details, the main characters, and anything else that would be important when generating a video using a prompt. Not the best, but let's see. Let's say limit it to 100 characters. Okay, let's execute this and let's see what we get. So instead of a man working in his office at midnight, here we got anime style, young man with glasses working on a laptop, dimly lit office, city lights outside the window. Okay, let's update the system prompt. So let's say rules. It is important that the scene is realistic. So let's add that. Let's execute again. And let's see what we get this time. A tired businessman writing at a cluttered desk, city lights glowing outside his office at midnight. Better? Okay. Let's make this 200 characters rather than limited to 100. So here, limited to, let's say 300 characters. So we get a bit more depth. Execute. Okay. Wearing glasses, business suit illuminated by the glow of his computer screen. Awesome. So that's a bit better. So if I zoom in here, what I need to do is update the prompt that we're feeding Kai. So here, instead of json.video prompt, we're going to pass along json.message.content. So now we'll send that prompt to Kie.AI. So that's the first thing I want to do. And before testing this, let's also generate 3 videos. So instead of 1, I want to generate 3 videos. So based on this, I want to create sort of a 3 character scene, or three scenes of potentially the same character. They will be different characters, but we'll try and use the frames in a second. But for now, let's just say rules output. You need to output 3 scenes based on the user prompt in this format. And here, this is where we get into some JSON. So let's just output scene 1, scene 2, and then scene 3. So scene 3, scene 1. Okay, cool. 1, 2, 3. So now if I execute this, we should get 3 different scenes based on a man working in his office at midnight. What I didn't specify is, so for some reason we just got, yep, there's a line break between each. Okay, here we need to add a few changes here. So output content as JSON, so that's fine. Let's execute this. Awesome. So we got 3 items in our array. Anonymous style, a corporate, high rise at night. What we didn't say is that it needs to be sort of like scene 1, 2, and 3 of the same movie. It is important that the scenes are realistic. Focus on the scene. Okay, that's why it got anime. Okay, the characters, the character, and anything else will be important. Limit to 300 characters per scene. You need to output 3 scenes. Rules. So the first is the scenes are realistic. The second is each scene should follow what happened, or should continue from the last scene. Each scene will be around 8 seconds long, so it should only focus on one action. I think that would focus it a bit more. So let's see what we get here. Tired middle-aged man sits alone at a cluttered desk. Okay, the man rubs his eyes. Nice. Half-finished coffee. Scattered papers are visible. He pauses to stretch. Okay, yeah, I like that. So it's great that we went from a man working in his office to all that information. So now, if I were to run this, let's see what we get. And then a second, I'll also open this information. So this should give us that array called scenes. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, let's ensure that you need to output 3 scenes based on the user prompt in this format. Let's call this scenes. So I think that should do it. So I'll just unpin this. And I'm doing that just because I want to always have the output called an array of scenes. So that's great. Because here I'm going to add a split that will split based on those scenes, or based on that message scenes. So now we get an array of 3 scenes, of 3 items, which also means that here what we can do is loop through each of those scenes. And what I'm also thinking is that in the output, we need to have scene 1, scene 2, scene 3. And ideally, it's not included as the actual prompt. So here, we need to add some information. So essentially, this will not complicate live, but it will add some complexity, some dynamic situation, some stuff to the output that we get. So here, what we'll say is scene number, which will be that, and then we'll also add the prompt for that scene. So I think, let's do this. And let's see if this works. So that's 1, that's 2, and that's 3. Let's add a comma here. And let's close that off. Let's see if this is actual correct JSON. So I'm just going to go to JSON lint, paste, and this is valid JSON. So I'll just copy this, go back to NA10 and paste it in. So it's a bit more structurally looking better. Okay, let's execute this. So now we should get the different values right here. Okay, awesome. Scene 1, scene 2, scene 3. Great. So now if we split this out, should be fine because it's still on scenes. So now we get 3 items right there. Great. So what we're going to do is let's use a loop over items. So we'll loop over each of these and then we'll generate the video for each individual scene. So let's loop through this. And now what we're going to do is as the prompt, we're going to send the prompt right here. And now thinking about it, I also want to send this scene to the callback URL. So let's use that callback URL. So here I'm just going to pass, testing this out, but I think it should work. Scene number is equal to, and then I'm going to pass along whatever that scene number is right here. So essentially we'll get some additional information when we get the webhook information. So we'll test that. Let's put in a wait. So let's wait 5 seconds before generating the next request. Then we'll loop through. And then once this is done, we just stop. So I'll add a do nothing operation there. So if this works, we should get 3 webhook requests with 3 different videos that have scene 1, scene 2, and scene 3 in them. So let's give this a shot. Let's run that. And let's see what happens. So this should have created or made the request to create the first video, the second one, and the third. So now I went back to logs. Let's go to Veo 3. Nice. And as you can see, we have 3 concurrently running processes. So once this finishes, we'll be able to see what we get right here under executions. So then we should get 2 different executions with 3 different videos. So the last one that succeeded was this. Awesome. So let's see what happens once these 3 finish running. While this is doing its thing, let's create another table so that we'll be able to store this information. Because then I want to show you how to concatenate the videos together. So that will be the next step of the automation. So what I'm doing here off screen is just creating a new database. Create build. And let me put this on the right screen so that we start building this. Okay, let's delete that. So here, let's put in a record ID, which is a formula, which is equal to record ID. I want to use the single line text user prompt. Yeah, we might need to add some more information that gets sent to Veo 3 and then returned as part of the webhook information, but that's fine. Okay, so here we've got 3 pieces of data as well. If I just remove whatever this is. Let me figure this out. Okay, so we're back in business. So if we look here, we've got 3 items at 11, 30, 37, 52, and 16. So nice. What I'm curious is whether we got that data about the scene. So if we look here, did we get that? Yep, nice. Scene number 3 as a query parameter. Perfect. So this should be scene 1 or scene 2. Scene 2, great. Awesome. So here in a second, we'll need to do a quick adjustment just so it makes it easier to store the information right here. So here I want to, as soon as we create a prompt, we save each prompt as an individual line so that we can then pass it along to the request so that this will know where to save the video URL. Essentially, that's the flow that I want to take. So let's think about it from a storage point of view. We have the original, let's call it original user prompt. So this will be the same for all three records. Then we'll have the updated user prompt. So let's go with long text. It's called updated user prompt. So this will be what will be generated by OpenAI. Then we'll have a URL, which will be the video MP4 URL. I think that's pretty much it so far. So we'll be able to save the information there. So what I'm thinking is that yeah, we'll need to we can create the record right here, right? Before we send the information to Kai. I think that makes sense. So let's go to our table. Let's create a record. Let's call this the YouTube Kie.AI video. And let's find that. So that from the list, table 1. So the original user prompt will come from the set video prompt. The updated one will come through this. And the other one we leave empty, because then we'll need to grab that later. However, what we need to send to Kie.AI is not just the scene number, but also the Airtable record ID where this will be saved. So here we also need to add a number. So let's say scene number. Let's put in no decimal places. So then we'll have scene number 1, 2, and 3. We'll have the different URLs there. But here, once we create this, let's put in a wait. So Airtable will have some time. I mean, it shouldn't make a difference, but let's put in a wait. And after we create a record, so let's get some data in here. So let's pin this guy. I'm going to just loop or just get some data here. So let's execute this. Okay, great. I'm going to connect this, and I just want to be able to create a record in my Airtable. So here we got that, right? Here we can also add the scene number immediately. So this we know will be this. So there's that. So if we execute this once more, that is that. Nice. So now, when we make the request to Kai, let's execute that. We should be able to also send the record ID so that when we get the information back, we will be able to immediately know where to store it. So once we get the URL, it will match with this record ID and it will store that URL right there. So for the actual prompt, we need to go back to create a loop here. So now instead of json.prompt, this will be that. The scene number will be that. And also we'll send the record ID, which will be equals to this right here. So this is what we will be sending. Scene number equal to 1 and record ID is equal to that. Great. Cool. So, messages, please enter prompt. Okay, that's weird. This is because I just ran this. Okay, let's see what we got from those 3 videos as well. Just checking if this worked well when we were sending the 3 videos. So let's open up the first one. Yeah, that's fine. Second one. All right, and third one. Taking its time. Refresh. Okay, so guy stood up, looked out of the window, which I think was the third one. So I think that worked well. So if we look at the executions, possibly this one. Yeah, I think so. 3 items. Yeah, stands, walks to a large window. Okay, great. So that was working as expected. So now what we should get here is, let me actually, yeah, I can't use, I need to get some data there. Because what I would love to do is just get some data into this webhook. Actually, let's copy this to the editor. Let's go, let's unpin this. And I'm going to copy this information. I mean, here we know that in addition to C number, we're also going to get record ID, right? So here under post, let's put a set. Let's grab the C number. And in addition to that, we're also going to get the record ID. So here we have C number and we have record ID. So that's pretty much going to be the same thing. So if I just go back here and open this up, I can add another query or variable here. So instead of query.c number, it will be query.record ID. And just for the sake of this build, so I don't have to run it before testing, I'm just going to hard code this information. However, this will then come from json.query.record ID. Here, let's actually change the variable name. So this, I just need to change to this.record ID. So instead of scene number. So this would be set scene number and record ID. And now thinking about it, we don't even need to set the scene number because this is going to be set before. So technically this is redundant. We don't even need to send the scene number. Yeah, because we get the record ID, which already has the scene number. So that's redundant. So I'll just remove that from here. So scene number, we just don't need. So we'll just send the record ID. Okay, so here, actually we will not need this. I'll just leave it while I test this, but this will then become the record ID. So just for testing, let's unhook that. Let's for now hook it to this so we can get some data in here. And if I just execute this, just so I have a variable in there, I can mimic what would happen when we get the information from the webhook. So here, I'll use this record ID to go to our table and update the record that is based on that record ID. So I just need to connect to our table first. The list was called, what was the name? YouTube something. That one. Choose my table 1. And then I'm going to update based on the record ID, which we know will come in from the webhook. And then I'm just going to update the video MP4 URL. So if we look at the executions here, and I copy this to the editor, this will come from, I mean here technically we should set we don't need this, right? So this will become record ID. But what I want is the video URL, so I'll just replace that parameter with the result URL right here. So result URL, and this is an array. So just wondering if I do dot join, yeah, that should give me just that one item in that array, which is a string. So that should be fine. So now, if I were to just copy this, yeah, let's just put 1, 2, 3 here. Again, just for the purpose of testing. So now I can run this, and then I'll just be able to set the video URL here. Cool. Let's just unhook this. Let's add it to the post as it was before. And here I'll just put whatever I had for the record ID. And now we can test this and see what happens. So here, we just need to connect this as it was. Yeah, let's run this from A to Z. Let's tidy this up. This will run from execute. So let's execute this. And let's see what happens. So this should be adding information right here, right? So when it creates the first prompt and sends it to Kai, this should send that right there. Just for clarity's sake, let's add the created time field here so that we'll know what is happening. So this is 11:43. So it created the first, the second, and the third. So now it's in the process of sending that third request to Kie.AI. Here, let's just delete everything else. Not clear. Right click delete. And let's sort this by the created latest to earliest, so that when new stuff is created there, it gets added there. I'm also going to add the, what's it called, last modify time. So we'll see when stuff changes as well here. So executions, that finished. If I go back to Kai, this should be running those 3 videos. So we'll see what happens once that finishes. As that is doing that, let's also go to replicate, because this is what we're going to use to connect the videos together. So if we just search for video concat, I believe. Yep. Lukatako video merge. So this will allow you to merge together separate video snippets, which is what we want. We want to feed different video URLs right here. And then we get as output the combined video. So this is what we're going to be using. I'm going to look at the JSON right here. Yeah, let's just grab the HTTP curl. And that is what is going to happen once we get the information to our webhook. So we'll save the information, and then we'll just combine the videos together to get the final output. So here we're getting those 2. As you saw, we got the information coming through right here. And in a second, if it works, we'll also get the scene number 3 to pop in here, and that will also update this right here. So if we were to look at this right here, I'm assuming that the last one is still running. Yep. So if we look here and jump back into NA10, once that finishes, it should update with a fresh execution and then update that MP4. And then we can focus on combining the videos together. Thinking about it, I think it would be easier to just add a new table here, and this would be the final videos. So then we'll be able to create like 1 record for each video. So let's add a formula here, which is equal to record ID. Let's have let's keep it simple. Just have an attachment where it will be the video itself. So final video. And yeah, let's just leave it simple, final videos. So for some reason, I still don't see that. I didn't see that coming through. So let's see. Yeah, still running. Okay, so that's taking a bit of time. One thing to note is that you can also, you can get these to start generating at the same time in parallel. So at the moment we're generating 1 video, or we're asking it to generate 1 video, then another, then another. Since we're not waiting for it to complete before moving forward, it doesn't make that much of a difference. But you could call separate NA10 workflows that would generate the videos in parallel as well. So it would execute pretty much at the same time. Okay, so this is still running. So let me just pause the video and come back once this finishes. Okay, so this just finished. It just took a bit more time. And if we look here, this should come through here in a second. Perfect. So here, this is saying that this should be updated. So if we look at table 1, awesome. We got this that was updated right now, 11:48. Let's confirm the 3 URLs work. So this is the first one. Cool. Second one. Stressful life. And third one. All right, perfect. So let's do this join videos together part now. So we have the information here. Go back to NA10. Go to the editor. We've updated the records. And now I want to call the next part, which is the joining of the videos, right? So here, what I'm going to do is, let me think about this. Yeah, let's just create another webhook here. And I think in an ideal world, this would be in its own separate workflow. But what I want is that, actually, it's a bit more complicated, I guess. Because I don't want to run the concatenate videos. Concatenate videos. I don't want to run this unless I have the 3 videos right here, right? And the way to know whether I have the 3 videos is that I need to have those 3 fields that actually have videos, right? So some things to consider is status. Yeah, it's at a status here, which will have in progress and ready. So what we want is, we want to check so that when something is in progress and there is a video URL for all the data, we know that those 3 records exist together essentially. And that's one way of doing it. We could also have one individual record, and that would make it easier to see whether the gaps are filled in. But that would require us changing the whole architecture. So let's see if we can run with this. So this would be, by default, it would be in progress, right? And then once this finishes and concatenates, we would change these to ready. So let's say that by default this is in progress. Let's have another thing. Ready to combine, and then we have finished. So by default, it's in progress. So what we want is that when we have stuff, we have the 3 videos that are ready to combine, then we can move forward. So what I'm thinking is that here we are updating the record. We just need to find a way to keep checking whether whether the 3 records in question are all ready to combine. Quite a tough one. I mean, we could check this every so often. You know what? I'm just going to change the whole architecture of this to make it easier. Yeah. So here I'm not going to create a record each and every time. I'm just going to have one line. We would eliminate the need for this. So let's delete that. Let's call this videos so it's more organized. And here what I'm going to do is have let's do that. So here I'm going to add a few columns. So here I'm going to insert the long text, which will be use updated prompt 1. And then I will have the insert right video URL 1 URL. And then I'll do the same thing for 2 and 3. So I'll duplicate this, I'll duplicate that. So this is number 3, this is number 2, updated prompt 3, updated prompt 2, and updated prompt 1. Great. So this essentially will move to be horizontal rather than vertical. Let's delete that, we don't need this. Let's delete this, we don't need this. Video MP4 we don't need. So then what we'll need at the end right here is an attachment that will be the final video. We will not need, I mean technically it's in progress or done, so yeah, let's leave in progress and done. By default it's in progress and then it's moved to done at the end. Let's delete, yeah, essentially everything because we need to add new data. Okay, let's rethink this a bit. So set the video prompt, update it so it's 3 scenes. When that happens, we split it out, that's fine. And then we create a single record. So this, first of all, will only be executed once. And if I just refresh this, we put the original prompt, that's great, a man working in his office. And then we get the updated prompt 1, updated prompt 2, and then updated prompt 3. So that's the first part. Then, now the issue is that there's this loop over item, and this will require 3 items. So this can't happen before the loop over items. Just curious if we can do this, and then this, whether this would still give us 3 items. Message.content, message and model, scenes, potentially, let's see. So if we execute this workflow using the execute, whether this would give us 1 record and then split out, no. So that can't be done there. Okay, fine. So we'll need to do this. And we'll need to do this. And then somehow we'll need to merge with the record ID there so that we pass it through the Kie.AI videos. Execute this. So this should have created so that's not found, okay. So this is prompt 1, prompt 2, and then prompt number 3. Okay, try again. Okay, boom, boom, boom. Updated prompt 1, 2, and 3. And here we got the 3 items. Great. What we don't have is the actual record ID, right? So what if yeah. So let's change this a bit. So let's do it like this will go here. So first we create the record, and this will be just purely creating the record. Just so we can values to send. So this is a create, right? Yeah, we're not going to add anything at all. I just want to get the record ID. So when we create this, let's just execute this. This will give us the record ID of the new record added. Then we're going to add this to the image generator or the prompt generator. So here, the user prompt will come through this. So a man working in his office at midnight. However, we also want to, for each of these, add the record ID. So this will be whatever comes through our table. You need to output 3 scenes based on the user prompt in this format. So let's just add that. And here, I'm going to say in this format, note that the record ID will be the same for all 3 items in the list. Use the exact record ID provided above. So let's execute this. Then this will become an update. So we'll update with the 3 prompts that we would have gotten from here. Great. So here we're sending the same record ID, which means that when we loop through here, we'll know what the record ID is, and we'll be able to split this into 3 items as well. So let's spin this. Execute. So we got 1 item here, and this should output 3 items in a second. Okay, great. So let's execute, and let's see whether this outputs. Why is this not outputting items? Let's see, because maybe there's nothing after it. So if I do this, okay, have a problem in our table here. Let's fix this. Could not be processed because it's an update. Okay, so we need to update with that. We don't need to update the original user prompt. We're just updating prompt 1, 2, and 3. All right, try again. Okay, nice. And we get the 3 items that get paused right here from the split out. So this we don't even need. So now we can loop through there. And here, we can delete this wait. But just as a quick test, let's execute that. So we get 1 item right here. Awesome. So this should have created that, which ends in 5FB. And here, is it 5FB or is there an updated one after? Created at 1201. 5FB. Okay, so why are we not 5FB? Oh yeah, because the data is pinned right here. Okay, that's fine. So unpin. Let's run this again. And now, let's see. So this should create the record, then updates it, which is this T1G. And then we should get that passed along right here as the record ID. Great. And it should also be the same for all 3. So T1G, T1G, T1G. Great. So that means that now, when we go to create a video, we can send that record ID, great, T1G, with the different prompts, great. So then, when we get the information, we'll be able to do this here. So I'll need to regenerate this, and we'll see what information we get sent right here. Thinking about it, we're going to get the video URL, yeah, and the record ID. That should be fine. So that should be the same, and then we can update that record. However, we also will get the scene number, right? Are we sending the scene number? Because now this will be super key. Yeah, we need to send that to Kai. So yeah, we need to go back to sending the scene number here. Because we're on the same row, so we'll need to differentiate whether it's 1, 2, or 3. So here, let's add and scene is equal to whatever that is. Let's use scene number, just so we're consistent through and through. Okay, so let's save this. Here we're going to get that scene number. So I'm just going to add another variable, call it scene number. It's an expression. I'm just going to paste in whatever we had, scene number. So then we'll be able to update the record based on the information we get right here. So this can just be a post as well. Okay, let's execute this and see what we get here. So then once we get this information, we'll be able to update the record, and then we'll only proceed if video 1, 2, and 3 are filled in, essentially. So with this automation, this will get each of these, and then, yeah, we can do that. So technically, this can call the concatenation one, call concat workflow, right? So this will call this right here, and it will pass the record ID. Let's send a query parameter. Let's pass rec ID. Still thinking about how to solve this, because what I was thinking is that this will call the record ID, or it will call this with the record ID, and this will only run if those three values are filled in. I'm gonna have a quick think about this. It can also be said that we can have an if, I guess. If this and this and this are filled, then we call, yeah. If not, it just ends. Yeah, let's do that. So update the record. And here, what I'm going to check is what that looks like in terms of data. So if we have X and X and X, for example, in this record ID, let's see what we get. So here we will update, and then let's give it a wait here. And then eventually we'll have the if. But we'll need to set that up in a second. And then if those three are filled, we call that one. If not, it just ends, do nothing. But here, let's see if I paste that in, and here I should get some data, great. And I get the XXX, great. So the if could look like something like this. So if video URL 1 exists and video URL 2 exists, and same thing with number 3, at condition video URL 3 exists, then we proceed. If not, we stop. I think that makes sense. Now this if will need to be mapped to update record, essentially. So not JSON, but it would be update record dot item dot JSON. Video URL 1. Did I delete the other? Apparently. So this is URL 3. And I just need another for URL 2. So we will only proceed if, once we update this, all three exist for that specific record ID. If not, we do nothing, because it means we don't have all the three pieces of data. And then, once we have those three pieces of data, we can call the third workflow. We pass along the record ID from this guy right here, update record ID. So that would be the, let's say here, update record ID dot item dot JSON dot ID, I guess. So let's put that in dot JSON dot ID. So we send that to this guy right here. When this guy gets that, then we'll be able to get from our table all the information we need based on the ID that we get here. So I guess this would be, what's our table called? YouTube Kie video. The list will be videos. The record ID will come from this json.id. Might be json.body.query. I'm not quite sure there. And then we'll be able to call this right here. So I'll copy this just so it's there. HTTP. Let's call replicate. Let's import the curl. Need to put in my authorization token. And then here we'll be able to pass along the video files. So we'll need to test this in a second. Cool. So let's see what's happening here. Let's delete this. Executions. Okay, so something failed here. Update a record, could not. Okay. Video MP4 URL does not exist. Okay, because I changed that. Yeah. So that's why that failed. Let's debug in editor. Where are we? Why did that not copy to the editor? Executions, and I want to debug in editor. Okay, let's refresh this. So now the video URL also needs to be routed according to the scene. Yeah, that's one thing I didn't think about. Yeah, so here we'll need to add a switch, essentially, which will say if scene number is equal to 1, we update part 1. If it's equal to 2, we update part 2 in our table, and same thing with part 3. So this is equal to 2, and this will need to be a number as well. So number is equal to, this is number is equal to, same thing here, number is equal to. So this is 3, and this is 2. Cool. JSON.CNumber. Actually the problem is that this is a string, because that's how I'm inserting it. So, I mean, that's fine. Let's go back to string is equal to. Should have inserted that as a number, as an integer. So string equal to, same thing here, string is equal to. So now we have 2 routes here. So if we go down route 1, we just need to insert the stuff from here, which is, let's grab whatever that is set. That would be the result URL. Will need to be a string, so dot join. Let's put in a string. We need to add the parentheses apparently. Great. But now instead of json.body, let's put in the video complete .item.json.body, because we're going to reference it from a later node, right? Not from the one after it right here. So here, in terms of the update, this will be part 1, video URL 1. So we'll just paste that in there. If it's part 2, then we'll need to move this from here to video 2 and flip to expression. And same thing if it's part number 3. So we'll grab that from there and update video URL 3. Then we can route to the same location. Then we have the if. So this is now going to check. Yeah, I think, yeah, let's wait, and then let's also reread the information. So here it would be tough to figure out which route we're going through. So here, let's add Airtable. Let's add another get. So we'll be able to get the record ID from here. and read what we actually have in our database, essentially. So let's find the database. Where is the database? Interesting. Okay. Videos, record ID. Let's grab that from this node. Like this, we'll be able to see if those three items exist. So now it will not be update record, it will be the previous node. So it would be JSON dot whatever. So let's put in 2 and let's put in 3 here. So then we're saying if those three already exist, that's called the concat workflow. Passing the, let's pass the record ID from the edit field. So that will always be the same. Record ID. If not, we do nothing here. Cool. If we go here, we're going to get that record based on what comes through here. I mean, let's actually test what comes through here. So here, what we're going to send is this URL, and we're going to send a query parameter called record ID with our record. So we'll be able to build this out right here, and then we test end to end. So it would be this webhook with this parameter and the record ID. Let's just pick something from here. Hit enter. Workflow was started. So this should have sent some data right here, which we should get right now. Okay, great. So if we now debug this, we'll be able to read from our table. So this would be json.query.recordID, as you can see here, not just json.id. And now, if I execute this, not found record ID, yeah, because this just sometimes acts up essentially. But let's run it again. So if I go back here, we got that information right here. So let's copy to editor. And now we should be able to pass along. Oh yeah, this doesn't have anything here essentially. So let's put in some, which one was it? BW at the end. Was it BW? Yeah, apparently. So let's just put in something there, just so we have the parameters that we can then send to replicate. So I'll rerun this once more. I'll look at the last execution, 12:16. I think there was another one, 12:16:02, unless I did not run that. Yeah. Let me run this again, refresh, a couple of times. Okay. Unpin, and let's see what was tried to be sent here. So here we got the x-axis, so that's great. I need to provide the authentication token, that's fine. And here I just need to replace the video URLs. So here we will get essentially video 1, which is video URL number 1. So we can drag and drop that, a comma, and then video URL 2 and 3. Remove the comma from the end, change this to 2 and change this to 3. And now I'll just need to authenticate with replicate. So if I go here, API tokens, need to delete a bunch of stuff. If you disable this token, yeah. I'll just create one. YouTube September 2nd. Create token. Copy this, go back here. I'll just replace that there. So now this should create a create a combined video for us, which we then will want to save to our table. So finally, we'll need to update this based on the information we get from replicate. So we'll match on the record ID the record ID, we can use the same thing that comes from the webhook. So there's that. And we're just interested in the final video, essentially, right here. And we want to change this to done. And for the final video, I want to save this as an attachment. So I'm going to edit in this specific format that Airtable wants this, which is this right here. And here we'll need to put in the stuff from replicate. Let me see if we can we test this quick? No, I don't think we can. Without, I mean, yeah, we can test it using his examples. Let's see. Where are his examples? Video files here. Just copy this so we can test that. And then test it end to end and see what errors come up. So here we have that one. And we have that one as well. So this will just need to be added right here. And then we'll replace with our own Airtable values. Or technically, yeah, let's just insert these as a test. We can run it with the same values. So we have, that's 1. That's 2. Let me insert the third one right here. So if we go back here, and just execute from this guy, concatenate videos, let's actually see what happens. Okay, something is invalid. Oh yeah, can't leave this here. Try again. Okay, so this is calling that. And this, yeah, this will now fail in a second, but if it works, we'll get the concatenated videos right here. And obviously this is try to insert that, but that did not work. But here we should get this output. So if I copy this, we should get the 12 second, I guess, 7 seconds. Okay, let's see. So there's one video, there's the second one, and we should get the third video, yeah, which is the first one as well. So here I'm just going to replace that XXX with the output right here. So that should then save whatever replicate gives us. So yeah, let's test this end to end. So I'm going to go here, I'm going to delete all this. And let's run this from the very beginning and see what happens. Okay, so this created the record. For some reason, it didn't save the original prompt. So this we need to update. Where was that? Original user prompt. Apparently I just removed that. That's fine. So that would be this one right here. For now, I'm just going to copy this and edit manually. If I look at the executions here, that was the first one, 1221, so that's fine. I'm going to add that. Did I not copy that? A man working in his office at midnight. Copy, paste, and this will then be done automatically moving forward. For now, if we look here, this should be generating 3 videos, which it is. So I'll give this a second and see what happens once this finishes. Let me just pause this. Okay, so this finished generating. So let's see what happens here, or what happened. 1225, okay. Let's refresh. And we got some errors, which is fine. Totally expected. So first webhook seemed to have worked because it went up the route there and then it did nothing, which is what we wanted. So that's fine. Let's see what happened with number 2 and why does run into an error. Okay, so it ran into an if error. Why? Reference known as unexecuted. Rewind your record to make sure the node executes first. Oh yeah, this shouldn't be. This should be get a record, no? The first one. Yeah, that's the issue. Since we added the get a record, this should refer to JSON because it's the previous node. So video 1, video 2. Didn't I just change that before? Anyway, yeah, not quite sure. So this right here has not yet been executed, which is great, which is what we want. So technically, I think we can re-execute these two. And then technically, once we get the actually, these saved this right here, right? But they then failed. So none of the workflows called the concat workflow. So technically, if we run this and we do from the currently saved workflow, it should then call this right here because all three items, boom, 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 are in here. So let's see what happened. So I think that is actually what happened. Yeah, to call the concat workflow, and now that is actually running. So that's fine. So if this works, we should get the final video. Nice edit there as well. So it did that. And as you can see, that ran through here. And let's see what we have here. Okay. So here we got a 20-second video, 24-second video. That should be nice. The combination of all those three. What I will not have time to get into in this video is how to use ending frames as the starting frames of other videos. But as you can see, we get that 24-second video with the combined 8 videos that is saved right here in our table. So yeah, it was a long one. I hope that you found this video useful. If you have any questions, let me know. In terms of this AI video creation, I'm getting quite into it when it comes to creating these videos. So definitely let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. And also let me know what things you want to see more of in this channel. As always, I would appreciate a like and subscribe because that shows me that this is the sort of video content that you want. So do that, and I'll speak to you in the next video. Cheers.